KIDO Talk Radio coming up. Don, Liberty, Linda, and Lori in Boise. Before that, though, we're joined by our great friend, former Congressman John LeBoutelier. How are you, sir?
Well, Kevin, generally I'm well, but I have a bad virus, so I sound awful, and I've been to the doctor a couple times, and I'm going to get better, but I sound like I have a terrible cold, and I feel awful. But I thought being on with you will make me feel better.
Well, bless you, my son.
Yeah, thank you.
So we love having you on because you have your insightful takes on a man that you've known for years, President Trump. I don't know if you know Michael Cohen. You seem to know everybody. Your thoughts on the latest with Michael Cohen and President Trump?
Don't know Cohen, never seen him. I've known Trump since 1983, but I don't really know him well or anything. But I've met him and talked to him and interviewed him once for Newsmax and had a couple of meetings with him. Michael Cohen, though, I think is got the secrets of the underside of the Donald Trump business empire, the dirty deals, if there are some, and things that have to be covered up and all that stuff. Cohen was the guy that Trump used to do it. And that's why the the search warrant into his office and residences and the seizure of everything, including the fact that this guy tape recorded telephone calls to people, is a huge deal. And Trump knows it, and he's extremely agitated about what they're going to find and what it may lead to.
I think Mueller and the folks in the Southern District of New York went too far?
Well, it's not Mueller. Mueller's in Washington, and whatever information they got on Cohen obviously was something not to do with the Russia investigation. So Mueller sends it to the Maine Justice Department, who decides to send it up to the New York Southern District because the alleged crimes took place where Cohen lives and works here in Manhattan, New York. So it's not Mueller. Separate investigation may come back to Mueller because whatever they find may be generic to Mueller's investigation, in which case they would bring it to him. But this thing is in what's nicknamed the Sovereign District of New York, where career prosecutors are doing it. You can't stop it. It's underway. And if I were Michael Cohen, I would be scared to death if I did something wrong.
Our great friend, Congressman John LeBoutelier, joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. So, by the way, we always want to make sure if people want to get your unfiltered, uncensored take on things, how can they listen to you, sir?
I do a podcast every week called Revolution, the podcast. It's on SoundCloud and iTunes, and I post it on my own site called johnlebout.com, JohnLebout.com.
So let's talk a little bit about James Comey. Is he credible?
I think he's credible, yeah. I don't think he's a major player anymore. He can only testify to the conversations he had with Trump, and that's why he made the memos to record contemporaneously what Trump said to him. Trump yesterday on Fox tried to discredit those memos, but that's not going to work because there were 6 or 7 other people who Comey told about each conversation after they happened. And in court, in legal stuff, you learn, I'm not a lawyer, but you learn, especially in sexual assault cases and all, that contemporaneous reporting to friends and family and notes taken carry an enormous weight in a court of law. And that's why I think those memos are important. There's no doubt in my mind, Jim Comey did not sit down and write memos and put false stuff in the memo. Why the hell would you do that? You write down the conversation you just had to make a record of it. That's all. I do it.
I'm with you. It just seems that Comey's sacrificed any credibility with trying to sell books.
Well, I don't know if he's sacrificed. I mean, he's a polarizing guy, because when he cleared Hillary in July of 2016, he sank himself with most Republican voters. Then in October, he reopens the thing, and that probably elected Trump, to be truthful. So that ticked off Democrats. And then he went after Trump and told what I think is the truth about how Trump leaned on him to cover up the Mike Flynn thing. And that ticked off the Trump voters. So he's ticked off a lot of people, and he's a polarizing guy, no doubt.
So what happens to the House? What happens to the Senate in the midterms?
I would think now every indication, and we're still 6 months away, but I would think the Democrats are on odds 53-47 to win the House. You know, and how big they win it, I don't know. They have to win 23 or 24 seats, depends on how you look at it. Can they do that? Yeah. Could they win more? Probably yes. The Senate has not looked as good for the Democrats until recently, when new polling has showed Tennessee, it's Corker's seat, he's not running, Republican. The Democrat is ahead on every poll there. He's the former governor. He's very smart. Trump is popular in Tennessee. And this guy, Governor Phil Bredesen, is not trashing Trump. His ads say, when Trump proposes something that's good for Tennessee, I'll support it. If he proposes something that's bad for Tennessee, I'll oppose it. So that is a smart approach if you're a Democratic candidate. So they have a chance to win the Senate. They got to pick up 2 seats, net 2 seats, and there are 4 possibilities: Tennessee, Nevada, Arizona, and one of the seats in Mississippi. That both seats are up there. They win 2 of them and hold all their seats. They take over the Senate. I have a theory, Kevin, on this election, that there are 2 parties in America, only 2. They're the Trump party and the anti-Trump party. And the whole election, really, in Idaho, in New York, in Florida, wherever it is, it's you either like Trump or you hate Trump. And this year, not the presidential election year, this year, of course, Trump is not on the ballot. And the anti-Trumpers are all going to come out and vote against every Republican they can get their mitts on. And I think that's why they're going to have a pretty good year in November.
KIDO Talk Radio, Congressman John LeBoutelier joining us. Congressman, what about the House? And if it flips, do they go after the president? We've talked about this before.
Well, they have to have something to go after him on. I mean, so far there's no report from Mueller. So there has to be some charges and some evidence to take to the House Judiciary Committee in order to start up an investigation. So that there isn't anything so far. But if there is something, then the answer is yes, they'll go after him.
Is there anything else we should be looking out for?
We got to have our fingers crossed that this North Korea thing goes well, because no one's yet talking about it. Obviously, we want the threat of nuclear weapons to go down. That's huge for us and our allies. But I think we ought to take a minute and think about the people of North Korea who have lived for 65 years under the worst regime in the world, where they're basically prisoners in their own country and live in horrible conditions. Kevin, we've all read the stories about at times they run out of food in North Korea, so they feed their people. Are you ready for this? Tree bark. I kid you not. Tree bark.
I hear that's good fiber.
Well, maybe it is, but that's not a good deal over there. And maybe out of all of this, eventually, some loosening up there would make their lives better, which would be great, and it should be one of the goals of the United States. We're the ones who liberated everything at the end of World War II, and we should, not through a military conquest, but making negotiations, try to liberate those people a little bit. Be good.
Well, like you said, Congressman, we're going to keep our fingers crossed. One more time, if people want to get a hold of you, sir.
JohnLeBout.com, JohnLeBout, JohnLeBout.com. And I have the podcast, comes out every weekend, called Revolution, the Podcast. It's on iTunes and SoundCloud. And it's done with Arlene Bynum from Toronto, who's a Sirius XM radio host who's very good. And I think it's a good show.
Well, we'll catch you later. Hopefully you'll feel better, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. As always, when we have Congressman LeBoutelier on, we'll get your thoughts. Let's go to the phones. Lori in Boise, thanks for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello, Lori.
Hello, Kevin. So I'm responding to some of these people that call in and say how Tommy Alquist donated to all these Democrats, unquote, and that he donated to some Democrats, so did Trump. And at the same time, they say, oh, it's okay for Trump to do it, and it's okay for Trump to be a wealthy businessman and a capable person that's employed a lot of people. It's not okay that Tommy Alquist is a successful businessman. He's got, quote, developer that you can't trust. And I just feel like this is hypocritical because Tommy Alquist he knows how to lead. He knows how to develop Idaho. He knows how to employ people. And the other candidates, I know them. They're nice people. They've done a lot of good in the country, in the state, and so on. But they have employed practically no one. They've employed a few people locally. They've employed other people to work in government, and that's it. And so I just feel like we need that leadership, and he's out there working. He's out there talking to all these teachers and farmers, everyone across Idaho. They're telling him what the problems are. We need to get our state out of the hands of the federal government for our resources and so on. He's the man to do it. And to stand there and say, on one hand, oh, I support the Constitution. I'm a constitutional conservative. I love my country. I love all these liberties and so on. But he's a man that can get money into our pockets and get the federal hands off of our resources and off of our local government. So I just say you can't stand there and say, oh, he's that developer and he's that guy that gave all the money to the Democrats. No, he's not that guy. And if you can support Trump, you can support Alquist. So that's my thought.
Thank you very much, Lori.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. KIDO Talk Radio. Don in Boise with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Don.
Morning, Kevin. Lori stole a lot of my thunder there. I agree with her points. The hypocrisy and Trump gave money to Hillary, for heaven's sakes. He admitted it. He's on record for giving money to the most liberal Democrats you've got, and yet we're okay with that because that's how things work. Well, that's how things work everywhere. When you're a developer doing projects the size that Tommy does, you get to know the politicians. You make sure that you're in good graces with folks because you've got projects to move along. The other thing that I think is interesting is I think most people agree with term limits. They want term limits. Well, this is our opportunity. We've got a couple of politicians in there that have been in there for decades, and term limits are within our hands. I think Tommy is bringing a fresh perspective. He hasn't been in government for the last 20 years. He hasn't been the guy, doing these things that we all go, well, it's the federal government. Well, it's all part of us, too. We have the opportunity to make the change to a man that has proven his competency in several different areas, in medicine, as an entrepreneur, as a developer. And we are looking at that and saying, no, we're going to take those politicians that we always malign politicians because they're career politicians, and yet we won't vote them out. We've got an opportunity now with a completely competent man who has proven himself over decades that he knows what he's doing. We need the fresh take. And it just seems like there's a lot of the folks this morning as I was driving in, there's a lot of hypocritical talk about, well, he gave to the Democrats. Oh, yeah, he's done this. Well, read the record. Let's not be ignorant about the facts. And I just think he's being maligned unfairly. And I just felt like I needed to call in and hopefully set the record straight. We have the opportunity to make a change here in Idaho, a great change. And if we don't take it, we deserve what we get. So those are my comments.
Don, thank you for those on KIDO Talk Radio. Take care.
Thanks.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you're just tuning in, getting a reaction to Congressman John LeBoutelier, talking about there are two political parties now. Either you're with the president or you're not. And why we seem to care more about the NFL draft than politics and governance, going back to what our friend Chris Troupas said so many years ago.
Go enjoy your beer and ride your ATV and watch sports. We'll run the country.
Liberty Linda joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Good morning, Kevin. You know, what an interesting show you're having today. Have you ever felt like going out and dredging oil rather than being a radio announcer?
I've ever felt about being in the therapy chair after this show, yes.
I know you're kind of having a rough show today. Anyway,
well, it's an interesting point that people are making. On one hand, when you're, and look, my point, as you know, is the point of discussion here. At 580-5436, you have Donald Trump doing all these things, Tommy Alquist doing all these things, and then you have people saying, well, it's okay for Donald Trump, not okay for Tommy Alquist. Now, you're not exactly the most objective person when it comes to Dr. Alquist, but I know for the sake of argument you will be.
well, the whole point is, you know, all right, there were a lot of others that voted for different Republicans, you know, at the time Trump was running for president. But now he's 100% behind him, like many others are. We're seeing what he's doing. And, you know, I at this point, I think Trump is one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. And other people, their eyes are opening to that. So that's what I believe in that. And you know, I mean, we've talked about it before. You know, everybody can go out and vote for whom they wish to vote for, and that's what's wonderful about this country. I just wish the politics would stay a little bit above the level it has been here. And anyway, I called in because I want to say, wow, you know, you're doing such a great job, and I give you an A+ as a radio announcer today, Kevin. You have deserved it. And I'd like to make a little prediction that I believe that Tommy Alquist, after he has served the people here in Idaho as governor, that he will go on to run as president of the United States. How about that?
Well, you heard it here first, Liberty Linda. Thank you for that prediction.
All right. First on the Kevin Miller Show.
You want to repeat that one more time, that who you think is going to win?
Yeah, Tommy Alquist. And then I believe he will go on, after he is governor here, that he will go on and run for president of the United States.
President Alquist, and you have the vision, so we'll check that out.
Tommy Alquist. Okay. We'll find out.
Thank you, Liberty Linda. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
Holy cow.
Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, did you enjoy the NFL draft? Why can't locally we cover politics as much as we cover sports? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio coming up, traffic and weather. Then we've got a special mystery guest, a familiar favorite. But first, Bill in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. I was just wondering if KIDO has decided to endorse Tommy Alquist this morning.
No?
I'm just curious. I mean,
if you were listening last hour, people were having the exact opposite view, which is what we want. We want to. Okay. We understand you can't listen all the time, but with respect, Bill. But last hour, people were the exact opposite point of view, sir.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because I know that I've heard you in the past defend him, you know, and I was thinking, okay, well, I was just curious. But one of the things that I do want to say is that I felt like, you know, I used to be for abortion and now I'm not. I used to support, you know, Democrats and now I don't. I used to do this, but now I don't. And, well, how do you know that it's not going to change again? And I just wanted to say that I don't think Raul Labrador has ever changed anything. So I just thought I'd let that go, and you have a great day.
Bill, thank you. Appreciate you. Bill's a little fired up. And again, we love the passion, but as I've said, you know, you can only catch 20 minutes of the program at a time. So you're, you know, again, all the views are welcome. We're endorsing you to make the decision. Our goal is to empower you collectively to have influence. That's what we're here for, your wingman every morning. Traffic and weather together. And Kevin Miller in the morning coming up next, a live report from the White House with John Decker, exclusively from Fox News Radio. That's right, the White House. And, of course, more of your calls on the issues that matter to you. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Dave Ramsey, listen to me today, live at noon. And now back to my friend Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Now on 107.5 FM. That's 107.5 FM.
Kevin Miller in the morning here. Coming up more about the Idaho political gubernatorial congressional race. Let's go to Michelle Polino now. And we're supposed to talk to her about Kanye and Donald Trump. But we know where we're going with this. We know what we're going to talk about.
Avengers?
You don't even really have to say, you don't even have to say it with a question. Our girl. Yeah. So you've been there from the very beginning. We'll start you out with a softball. How does this compare to Justice League?
I think it's really going to be, you can't even compare it to that thing.
Ooh.
You know how I feel about DC, the DC universe. Until Wonder Woman, it had no idea, in what galaxy it was living.
Sure.
So, and Marvel has had a better grasp all along of who their characters are and how to evolve them. It's just a better overall. It's just better on the screen. And Avengers Infinity War is, I think, probably the best one I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I was just going to say, will this be the number one box office champ of all time till somebody else knocks it off? I mean,
yeah, I think it's literally, talk is that it'll eclipse Star Wars, which is pretty huge.
Well, Star Wars is amazing when you think of, it was just that one. Star Wars happened. There were many headwinds against it, as you know, Michelle, and George Lucas and poor Alan Ladd got fired to get that thing rolling. It created its own universe, literally. Marvel, we're talking about the 14th film. I'm wondering, cinematically, if we've ever seen anything like this whole Marvel cinematic universe. And when they started this, they started off with like Ghost Rider and The Punisher. And here we are today with the most successful franchise, I would say, in movie history.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so much. There's just so much to Marvel and its characters, and they've brought their, you know what it is? Here's what I really honestly think. I've thought about this a lot, and especially the development of Guardians and looking at all the characters and how they've developed them. They've brought the characters into the 21st century, whereas the DC universe has literally, they still feel like 60s cardboard cutouts. You know what I mean?
Well, they really blew it with Superman, in my opinion.
Yeah, they did.
Too negative.
Hey.
And you see in Justice League just that little hope that the new Superman kind of gets it. We all grew up on Christopher Reeves.
Right. And at least with Christopher Reeve, there was a humility and a funniness about him. Like, he played that character really well, right? Would you agree?
Oh, the tongue-in-cheek. And who can forget Kevin Smith always gets the line, but everybody does, in Superman 2, General, would you care to step outside? Kneel before Zod?
Like, that stands up today.
Yeah,
that film. That stands up today.
Drives my wife crazy, but I'm there.
Yeah. No, but it just stands up today. It stands up to but it got it. It was tongue in cheek. It understood its place in the film in film history. And so does Marvel. It really gets it. It really gets the characters. It really gets how to portray them on screen. It really gets everything. And same thing for Deadpool. Deadpool is just so on target. It's just every Marvel universe character really, really gets it. And then we got, Ant-Man and the Wasp coming out later this summer, which they're just going to crush it. I mean, they're just going to crush it. I think probably by the end of the summer, we're just going to see the biggest numbers ever for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well, and you take a look at what Marvel has done. Usually the box office would start Memorial Day, but when it came to launching Thor or Captain America, April became the new June or May. And we see that with Black Panther launching in a non-traditional sense, blowing it up. And, even a movie like Doctor Strange or Ant-Man, not household characters, they found their niche. And it's amazing that they've avoided the jump the sharkness of it all.
You're right. That's a really good point. That's a really, really good point. They've completely evaded that. And, and again, we'll go back to the DC. I think DC's coming dangerously close to that.
Yeah, with the exception of Wonder Woman. Right. So, Michelle Pollino, can you give us any insight into this movie? Too long, too short, just right? Anything that sticks out without spoiling it at all?
I don't, I think it's pretty much on target, perhaps a little bit long, but, for the money we pay nowadays.
Right.
It has a great, the characters play well off each other. That's the biggest takeaway you'll walk away with. They play together well. The plot is essentially solid. You got a really nasty bad guy, and you got a gang of I'll call them a gang of thieves in our heroes and heroines that have faults, and each one of them kind of knows it and plays with that. So it's a good film. It's a really good film.
And you don't necessarily have to watch every Marvel movie beforehand. Even better.
No, not at all. Not at all. And you see some, characters that you might not even remember in emerging in this. And you're just like, oh, okay. It's kind of cool. Yeah. And Anthony and Joe Russo are, again, really great guys and great directors. And they really know how to direct their team.
Michelle Pollino, we so appreciate you. Thank you for the inside skinny this morning.
You got it, and enjoy it. I can't wait to hear what you think.
Roger that. Michelle Pollino joining us. Let's go to Dwight in Boise at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. You caught me with my earbuds out. I couldn't listen to that last conversation. I'm sorry. Kevin, your wife is correct. Please listen to your wife more. All good husbands can listen really well to their wives. What I called in to say was that I agree with you about the problem with the NFL, with football. Most football fans are airheads, in my opinion. The caller that you had is not an airhead. He's an addict. He's addicted. And you might be a little bit addicted to whatever that stuff was you guys were talking about. Kevin, we are also addicted to politics, to conventional politicking. We place all of our hope in politicians to fix everything because we don't know how to be citizens. We don't know that it's necessary for us to be citizens. We don't know how we can be powerful citizens. We don't understand things like jury nullification, the power of the grand jury. We do not grasp the power of people going on the street and shaming and humiliating politicians like a Butch Otter, who is a thug and a bully, with the other with the people in the legislature who would be opposed to what he wants to do. And yet the people, if we stand up and protest, we can embarrass a Butch Otter. Now, I'm picking on Butch because there's so many examples that we could use, that I could use, but I'm not smart enough to have instant recall of them. I've just been thinking about Butch this morning. So the answer is citizenship. And I know that in this season, everybody is just they're like crazed with politics. And then you're going to find out, like we always do, that the politicians are going to break their promises because they're not afraid of us. They are not afraid of us. And the reason they're not afraid of us is because we do not perform as citizens. We do not cause them any pain and shame and embarrassment when they break their word, when they betray us. So the most powerful way that we have to control our government is through something called jury nullification. I encourage everybody, including you guys who think you know all about it. I've never had a conversation with anyone who said he knew all about jury nullification that was not making fundamental technical mistakes about it within 2 or 3 sentences. And nobody understands or grasps, virtually no one, there's a few, who understand the psychological effect that a jury nullification has upon government officials. It causes them to run like hell from enforcing the laws that the juries are nullifying. And by that means, not a means of legal precedent, but by means of psychological kicks to the belly and other points on the body, jury nullifications kill bad laws, they kill bad government, and then there's the grand jury, which is the greatest power that we have, which was stolen from us over 100 years ago. We can take it back. It was stolen by the lawyers. We can take it back. And all the problems that we complain about every day on your show and many other shows can be solved by a jury revolution. I encourage people to look into it. I encourage people to get a hold of me, Dwight Calloway at yahoo.com, and I will bury you in information about a jury revolution and also effective citizenship. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Dwight. More of your phone calls next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Blessed to be a part of your day. Coming up next week on Thank You Thursdays, our sponsor is Chris Body. Chris Body will be at the Morrison Center on May 6th. Your chance to win tickets to see him, courtesy of Thank You Thursdays. That's at the Knitting Factory. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We're joined by the publisher of the Gem State Patriot, the young prince, or the sweet prince, not the young prince, the sweet prince of the Treasure Valley, who happened to join us in studio this morning. Tea Party Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you today?
Me? I am fine. What can we do for you today?
Well, I'd just like to do a little reinvestigation of the Tommy body of, should I say, the troops behind him. You know, history is very important. And if you take a look at Tommy's history, here's a guy who has used urban renewal and public money, taxpayer money, not only to develop, but also to cost taxpayers twice. Once for the money he uses for the development, and then the second time to help build the infrastructure out in excess of the impact fees that he would normally pay. He was a doctor for 15 years. He didn't fix anything in a healthcare system in the 15 years he was a doctor. He didn't increase the transparency. He didn't help lower the cost. He did nothing to stop the healthcare exchange from coming in. He did nothing to stop St. Luke's from taking all of the medical talent from the Treasure Valley and create a monopolistic structure. He did nothing to stem the high cost of health insurance and deductibles when he has admitted on tape that health insurance CEOs are some of his good friends. If he hasn't done anything in all of this time and in his past, why would he change now? If history is anything to judge people by and what someone will do, then Tommy is not the man to run Idaho. I would rather put my trust in someone like Raul Labrador, who has proven to be a conservative through his term in the state legislature and his 6 years in Congress, compared to Tommy's epiphany last year that he should be the conservative Republican to save Idaho. Where has he been during the past 12 years that Otter and his cronies were fleecing the taxpayers with tens of millions of cost to be fixed on the Wi-Fi and Corrections Co-op of America scandals? I don't remember Tommy stepping up and saying anything to stop this cronyism. Again, is he a Johnny-come-lately with a lot of money, much of it made on the backs of Idaho taxpayers with his urban renewal projects? You know, I don't want to trade the old cronies for new cronies. And that, I feel, is what we're going to be doing if we bring Tommy in.
But Tommy says he's getting rid of the cronies.
Well, you know what? There are old cronies and there are new cronies. Take a look at Tommy's past history, okay? I don't think his tiger ever changes his stripes. And he has been too cozy with Mayor Beater, with Bob Kustra. He has been walking behind the scenes and working behind the scenes with a liberal cronies for years.
You could say that about Donald Trump.
Yes, you could. But let me tell you, Tommy is no Donald Trump. Let's face it, Donald Trump was never a surgeon, nor do I think he will be. But he is a surgeon on getting rid of the swamp dwellers. I'm not so sure Tommy knows how to do that. You know, just because he's saying that's what he's going to do doesn't mean he's going to do it.
We got a Twitter by right-wing Jared saying, tune-out factor, Tea Party Bob needs to stop talking.
Well, Jarrett needs to quit tweeting.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, well, you know, some people just like to tweet. They don't like to get on the air and talk.
You're calling him out?
Anytime.
All right.
You know me. I'm not afraid of anything.
I just think it's fascinating, the whole interesting dynamic between Tommy Ahlquist and the callers of this program. We've had people saying that I've endorsed him, that I'm against him, and he does get people talking.
You know, anybody like a Tommy Ahlquist who comes on the scene and puts up $3 million is going to get people talking.
Well, isn't that a good thing?
Well,
don't we want more people engaged?
It's a good thing in some ways, but if you remember correctly, if he's going to be Trump-esque, Trump didn't have to spend as much money as Hillary, did he? He spent a lot less.
Donald Trump was a television personality, though.
Well, you know, isn't Tommy a famous doctor and a developer?
I think you've covered that. And by the way, it only took you 10 minutes to write that out.
Hey,
that's you're a fast writer.
Listen, buddy, I'm just fast at everything.
Right. Quick draw, Tea Party Bob. Thank you, sir. Let's go to traffic and weather. KIDO Talk Radio. We continue on. Let's go to Holly with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Holly.
Hi. I wholeheartedly agree with your man on there, and I think that the real question is if Tommy Ahlquist wins and he runs against A.J. Belukoff, will he also donate to A.J. Belukoff then? And does he agree with A.J. Belukoff that the public lands are owned by the federal government and not by the Constitution and owned by the state of Idaho? I just feel like, if anything, Tommy is maybe a moderate, but they've given way too much money to the Democratic Party in Utah, and he's voted Republican probably in Idaho because that's the only vote that really is effective in this state, but I don't think he's as conservative as he wants people to think.
Don't hold anything back.
Well, I think it is a little obvious, and I think the guy makes a good point about his record and what has he really done, and when did all of this government-run health care become part of a conservative principle? I mean, there's just too many things that...
Look, tell that to Governor Otter.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Governor Otter was it?
Was
it? Well, if that were the case, then I don't think he'd be running. He'd be endorsing Brad Little. I mean, look, the great thing about...
Why is he spending so much money on this campaign, though, Kevin? What do you think?
I think the guy wants to be involved in the process. And for me personally, Holly, I think that the more people that are involved, the better off we all are. Now, again, we want more candidates. I think it makes all of them better. I'm a little worried about what happens after the primary. That's why we're going to have our unity breakfast before the unity rally, because you could see why AJ's running again, because he could see to try to take advantage of a possibly fractured Republican Party.
Well, yeah, and especially if the candidate already donated to him once, I wonder if they'll continue to funnel money there.
But you could say that about that. But you could say that about Donald Trump, though.
Well, yeah.
I mean, Donald Trump had a picture with Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, ripped it on the Republicans, ran as the Reform Party candidate president, and still got elected to the Republican Party.
Did he donate a bunch of money to the Clintons, though?
Yes,
I don't know.
He did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, he was a developer, too, but I just think I don't know. I say Raul Labrador all the way. I think that's a proven conservative choice.
I thought you were a Harley Brown person. Holly, thank you.
Okay, bye.
Ray Amaya, thank you as always for a great program. Glenn Beck is next. Dave Ramsey, Sean Hannity, Lars Larson. God bless and keep the faith, everyone.